To make this popular nutty chocolate spread, first we need cocoa. The raw beans grow on trees in countries like the Ivory Coast, where workers have to toil in extreme temperatures to harvest them. They're spread out to dry in the tropical sun, and after 10 days, they're perfect. They're then bagged up and transported round the world to places like this chocolate spread factory here in Europe. They're now headed for the roasting ovens. The beans are almost 50% cocoa butter, and roasting reduces them to a liquid paste. However, this butter solidifies at room temperature and you'd never be able to spread it on your toast, so it needs to be removed. To do this, the paste is sent to these enormous presses which squeeze every last drop of butter out. The liquid butter is sent on to be used in other products, but what emerges from the machine is a chocolate lover's idea of heaven. Each disc weighs 7 kilos. They look like big blocks of makeup, but in fact they are pure compressed cocoa. They're sent off to be crushed, ready to be added to the mixing bowl. Next come hazelnuts, and plenty of them. The traditional recipe for a spread like this means there's the equivalent of about 50 nuts in each jar. Before they're allowed in, the quality controller uses his special guillotine to chop a sample in half. Worms can get into the nuts or they can go off, and that would ruin the spread. When he's satisfied that he's got good nuts, they're sent to be processed. They need to be cleaned and roasted before they can join the chocolate, so they all head for the ovens. It's important that each jar of spread looks and tastes the same, so any poor quality nuts are sorted out and then sent off to be used in other recipes. A computer-controlled blast of air flicks out the bad nuts, leaving only the best behind. They're joined by the pure cocoa powder, sugar, vanilla and skimmed milk in an enormous tank. Here they're mixed into the smooth paste that so many people love.
The best peanuts for making peanut butter are runner peanuts because they're uniform and roast more evenly than peanuts that vary in size. They arrive at a factory already shelled. To make a 500-gram jar of peanut 5 grams. That's about 1,100 nuts. The nuts travel through a hot air roaster, heated to 204 degrees Celsius. The shaking motion moves them around so they roast evenly. More than 3,600 kilograms of peanuts go through this roaster every hour. When they come out, they've turned from white to light brown. Next, they're fast-cooled at room temperature, using suction fans that circulate air quickly. This rapid cooling process is critical. It halts the cooking and prevents the peanuts from losing too much oil. Next, the peanuts go through a machine called the blancher. It removes the outer skins by rubbing them between rubber belts. Then it splits the kernels and removes the heart of the peanut, which has a slightly bitter taste. But what's discarded doesn't go to waste. The skins go to farmers for pig feed, and the hearts go into bird feed. The peanuts land in a big stainless steel container. From there, they drop down into the grinder to be ground into a paste. At this point, the other ingredients go in. salt, sugar, and a small amount of hydrogenated vegetable oil, which acts as a stabilizer and floating to the top of the jar. Peanut butter contains no artificial. It has no preservatives either, yet doesn't need to be refrigerated.
It all begins in a field where worker honeybees suck nectar from flower blossoms such as clover. They store it in their honey sac, then return to the hive where other worker bees suck it out and chew it, breaking down the nectar's complex sugars into two simple sugars called glucose and fructose. The bees then deposit the nectar into the cells of the wax honeycombs they've built. They fan it with their wings until most of its water content evaporates in the warm air of the beehive. What's left is thick and gooey honey. The bees then cap each honey-filled cell with beeswax. That's when the beekeeper steps in. Bees will sting if taken by surprise, so the beekeeper sprays the hive with smoke from burning pine needles, a scented warning that foreigners are about to enter the hive. Inside the hive are wooden frames hanging side by side, each holding a honeycomb. A hive can house hundreds of thousands of bees, all descendants of the prolific grand poobah of beedom, the queen bee. She's the big one in the middle. The queen bee lays up to 2,000 eggs a day, creating the workforce needed to feed and protect the colony. But the beekeeper tricks the colony's defenders. He replaces the hive's cover with a device called a bee escape, which smells like cherries. Bees dislike the scent, so most fly to the bottom sections of the hive. Another warning spray, and the beekeeper removes the bee escape. Now he can escape with the honeycombs. Inside the honey factory, they put the honeycomb frames on what's called an uncapping machine. Like a razor, it shaves the wax caps off the honey-filled cells of the combs. They scrape off the remnants manually. Then they set the frames on another machine called a honey extractor. It spins the honeycombs until all the honey is forced out of the cells. Afterwards, they filter the honey to remove any pieces of wax capping that slip through. Then, the honey is ready for bottling.